Okay, we should be there now soon.
Yeah.
We're live.
Yeah. Oh.
There we go. So, hello everybody, and welcome to day 17 of Freedom from Anxiety in Uncertain Times. And today I have the lovely Nikki back with me, and we had such a great response last week to all of our guests for the last 2 weeks, and that they've all kindly agreed to come back and share a little more with us. And Vicky, Nikki, I never got your website address the last day for people to reach out to you if they wanted to. Is it a Mind Place?
Yeah, www.amindplace, all one word, .co.uk.
Grand. I'll put that in the comments when we're done. And if anybody wants to reach out to Nikki, you'll know where to find her. So, yeah. So yesterday, Nikki, I was talking about, just what's fresh and new for me. And I suppose where I'm on the edge of my thinking and the edge of my learning. And so I don't know if there's anything going on for you that you'd want to talk about, but I just find that it's useful for people to hear where we are and what's going on for us. Seems to be helpful from the comments that I've gotten back. So I don't know, is there anything new and fresh that you're looking at or seeing?
I'm seeing. There's always, there's always something new and fresh, even though sometimes I think there isn't.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. So interestingly, so before this kind of understanding and like if I was to describe, I had all these like labels that described me, and they were things like anxiety sufferer, shy, not very confident. One of them was empath, and like you see a lot of that kind of on Facebook, and like, are you an empath? And you can do all these like, so I even bought a book. It's highly sensitive. I can't remember, something like that anyway, but I remember reading it and I was like, oh my God, yes. Kind of, I've always felt like I was one of these people that feels stuff. So like I might be in a room and maybe there's something between two people in the room going on. I don't know, some animosity or like anything. I have always just felt it to the point where I could then end up becoming uncomfortable, wanting to go home. I can remember situations where things have like family stuff happened and I like would go to bed at the end of like the evening and there's been this thing in the room with the family, and I'd say to my husband, did you, and he'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I'd get up in the morning and sure enough, there was something. Anyway, so I've kind of always like had that. What I kind of see now about those sort of labels is they're not actually that helpful. And although, I might be a bit like that, I don't need to kind of label myself. We had this, we had something happen to us this weekend. We found we were due to be getting a puppy.
Okay. Lovely.
Yeah. And I did all the checks. I was really thorough, more thorough than I've kind of ever been. Really, really careful, asking all the questions, asking to see documents, blah, blah, blah. And then really interestingly, I woke up the morning. So Sunday morning, we were due to go and pick her up. Woke up that morning, I just felt off. Like I felt it in my body. I just didn't feel quite right. Got in the car, got there, walked in, like from just being there, I just had this feeling like just walk out. But I got my daughter in the car and my husband that had just driven a long way. And if I felt like if I walk out of this house with no puppy, like she's just going to go mental and he's going to go, well, that was a bloody waste of time. And now we've got So I had all of that. So anyway, it turns out that some of the documents were fraudulent. And once I got home with the puppy, I realized this. So I contacted the vet just to double check. Sure enough, So that we then had a really difficult conversation with the lady about that, about wanting to return the puppy. The puppy had been sold illegally, actually. It's all really horrible. And it all ended up fine. Like we dropped her off, we got our money back, absolutely fine. And it's so interesting to see this. My husband and I are completely different people. So I might be one of these like really sensitive people. He's very much just sort of like, so he was like, I felt like my stomach was all over the place. I just felt like upset, or I just was in such a state. He's like, well, we got the money back. That's it. Got home. Right, I'm just gonna go and do da. Well, I'm at home, like in my thinking,
and
then feeling everything. And yesterday evening we were sat down, and I was just kind of reflecting on it all, and seeing that it wasn't the experience. You know, what happened was really awful, like having somebody lie to you, and then having to return, like explain to the family, no, I'm really sorry, but this really cute, gorgeous puppy's got to go back, you know. Horrible. But the experience itself is just neutral, and I can see that in my husband, who's like pissed off, like initially when he found out, moves on, has dinner, like get in the car, what are you gonna do, you know, all of this, and then absolutely fine, got home, absolutely fine, forgotten about, move on, next thing. And I'm like swirling around in the awfulness of the experience, and how can anybody do that, and how sad is this, and I'm so upset, and how must they feel, and I'm just giving energy to something that actually isn't real. I am the creator of my suffering.
Yeah, and a wonderful storyteller.
And so as I'm kind of sat there yesterday evening, it's just like Dan, you and I were saying, it's like with the 3 principles, it's not a like golden ticket to never have anything bad happen to you in life, or never have experiences that you don't want, or feelings that you don't want. It's a golden ticket to just have that in the moment and see it for what it is. If this had happened 3 years on, I probably would have, like today, I would still be like, I probably would have messaged Jan and gone, Jan, I can't do today.
Oh no, I'm just so too upset.
Yeah, you know, I would have probably plummeted into a little bit of a depression, and all the anxiety. I would have like gone on and on and on, you know, about the story, replaying it over and over and over in my head. Yeah. And although it was awful, and although it didn't make me feel nice, I can see that actually what happened is neutral, and it's just my thinking that creates my experience of this thing, my personal experience of it.
And when did you actually see that?
Yesterday evening. We were sat watching I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. I don't know. So it's one of those kind of things that you watch, but you don't really have to concentrate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of sat there, and I think I said to my husband, you and I are so different. Of course, he went, yeah, you know, like, well, yeah. But in my head, I'm thinking, yeah. I'm just thinking, you know, that was something that happened to both of us, and yet our experience of it was completely different. And because he wasn't in his head ruminating and creating stories about it, he was able just to move on.
That's so cool. Yeah. And I'm laughing because I had the opposite over the weekend with my husband. We were out and something happened, and it happened. Mm-hmm. And then we carried on and we went home. But, you know, the Ain't It Awful story didn't get left with the incident. The Ain't It Awful story came home with us. And then I was in my head going, why can't you just let it go? Why can't you just let it go? just let it go and it'll be fine. And then I'm realizing, sure, you're not accepting what's going on either. You're in resistance to the fact that he's still in the Ain't It Awful story. So you need to let it go. And you just go around in circles sometimes, but at some point in the process, you just start laughing because it just bursts.
Yeah.
Balloon pops.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly that. Well, it's amazing that you pop, because I never used to pop.
No, me neither.
Like that popping never was a thing, because
No.
I didn't know. I would have just previously what would have happened would have gone a little bit like my husband would have just moved on, and then I would have created another story about, well, how cold is that? He's got no heart. How can he do that? How can he do that? He got no idea. He doesn't know me. He doesn't we are totally incompatible. We may as well just get a divorce.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah.
From bad puppy
Well,
sex.
straight from giving the dog back to divorce.
Yes.
But it's so cool when we see, because we all have these kind of places we go when we start to feel bad, and we all have our own kind of library of stories or videos that we play. And I see that now, like it's the same thoughts that keep coming.
Yes.
If I feel a certain way, then it's the same habitual thoughts or the same records that just keeps on playing.
Yeah. And it's like,
but I see it there. I see it's a record playing now.
Yeah, you see it now. And it's like that kind of same story that no one told you that, that story that you keep replaying that you don't enjoy. No one told you that you could just leave that book on the shelf.
Yeah. They didn't.
Yeah.
No. And nobody told us there was somewhere else to look other than your thoughts for answers.
Yes.
That's the beauty of it. Yeah. But I think it's also really good to know that we don't end up perfect. We don't end up not being human when we get this. We actually end up being more human. Because when all that stuff came for you, you weren't afraid of it the way you might have been before.
No, and that's the interesting thing. I still found myself cleaning the kitchen floor. You might be thinking, well, how is that? But I probably would have just taken myself off to bed.
Yeah, because you felt so bad.
Yeah. I found myself doing all the things that I needed to do. Yeah. Getting on a call, cleaning the kitchen floor, picking up my daughter.
Exactly.
Regardless of the experience that was kind of going on up here.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's just irrelevant now. It can go on and do its thing. It's not going to get in the way.
Yeah, I see the separateness, and I think this is what I kind of point to a lot. Is that there's a separateness between the movie that's playing and me.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally separate.
Yeah.
And that movie, whatever flavor movie it is, it can't hurt me. It can't change me. It can't touch me. It can't break me. Any experience I have of that movie is just purely temporary.
And what you've described about what happened over the weekend and your husband's response just shows that it is temporary.
Yeah.
Because he was in flow with what is and just going along with it.
Yeah.
But your rumination kicked in and you got slowed down for a little while.
Yeah.
But you came around.
Yeah, exactly. That just took me a little bit longer, right?
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty. We talk about the rainbow, that we're the rainbow. And, I think when we understand this conversation, we turn into double rainbows because we're just not afraid of any of the colors anymore. And we can just let the light shine through all of the colors because we're not afraid of the experience anymore. You're not afraid to feel anxiety anymore. No. I'm not afraid of it either. I'm not afraid of all the physical symptoms that come along with it.
No. I still
because
don't.
I know
I don't like them.
Oh no, God no, I don't like it at all. But I don't grapple with it. fight it and get into my head about it, because I just know that if I just let it alone, it's going to pass on through a hell of a lot quicker. Yeah. And it's so wonderful when we have people in our lives that demonstrate that for us.
Yeah. Especially people in our lives that they're just, we talk about the 3 principles like as a thing, but to me it's just an understanding of how life works and how we work as humans. Like, it doesn't really matter what name you give it.
No.
What I love is when I see people exhibiting that without, they've not kind of been on the journey I've been on, or like had the teachings that I've had, or anything.
Yes.
They just know it in their soul, and they always have done. It's just somewhere in my life I took a wrong turn.
Yeah, we all went down a bit of a cul-de-sac for a while.
And, I got a bit lost for a while, and about how everything works and how we work and who we are and all of that. Some people, but actually most of us, we just know that like
you do.
That's why we have those people that don't experience anxiety or depression or anything, and then the people that do. To me, the only difference is the people that do, they just, like you say, they just kind of took a wrong turn at some point, innocently.
And it's all very innocent.
Yeah, thinking that they were going in the right direction.
Yeah. And I think what you said is really lovely and true, because I think that's why this understanding resonates with so many people when they hear it, because they hear the truth of it.
Yeah.
And like you said, there's so many people living this, and we're all living it, whether we know it or not. It's like gravity, gravity's there, whether anybody told us about it or not.
Yeah.
And these 3 principles are there, whether anybody told us or not. It's just, that's how life works. But we didn't know. So I think the biggest, and it does come back to, because we all know people that are just living examples of this, when we hear it as anxious people, it resonates with us because we hear the truth behind it.
Yeah.
And I think that was what kept me in this conversation for so long, and I didn't really understand
me too.
what it was about. I knew there was something here.
Yes.
I didn't know what. I couldn't get my head around it, but I knew that every time I was in this conversation, I left feeling a bit calmer and a bit more settled, and I just wanted to move more in that direction.
Yeah, me too.
And I listened for probably over a year before I really heard anything, because I was listening from here. And I don't even talk about the 3 principles much, because I got very lost when I heard what they were. I got lost in my head, and I got lost with an intellectual understanding, and I wasn't moved for a long time. And so I don't talk about it much unless people specifically ask. Because I find it's just more beneficial to talk in practical terms.
Yeah.
How life is showing up for us now, and how we navigate through that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think when I first started, it felt like it definitely is a psychoeducational kind of approach. You're learning something new about our psychology, our makeup. So, yeah, but I think when I first kind of started, it was almost like I was like trying to like a 5-step teaching.
Yes.
You've done some training today, like a 5-module training into the 3 principles. And now I just don't really talk about them at all. I just talk about, what's showing up for other people, what's showing up for me, and what we know is the truth.
Yeah. And following the feeling.
Yeah.
And I think I just got so lost trying to figure it out in my head that I couldn't be touched and I couldn't be impacted because I was up here. And actually it opened her heart to be touched and be impacted. And that wasn't happening because I was still caught up in my thinking too much. And it's funny about the notes, because I remember coaching with Nicola, and before we ever started the training, and every time she'd show up, she'd be like, "You're taking notes. Aren't you taking notes? And I can see you're taking notes." And we're like, "Oh."
Might be.
You don't need to,
Might not be.
yeah, if you're taking notes, you're not listening. You can't listen and take notes. You don't
Yeah.
need to remember. The words aren't important. But at that point, that's where I was no, I need to scribble it all down. I need to be able to look at it and revise it and memorize it. And you can do
And
that, but it makes no difference.
I have clients that do that too.
Me too.
I think that they just get to a point where you just notice them stop writing. And actually listening, and the questions become less and less. Whereas kind of initially, before you've even finished talking, they're there with a question.
Yeah. And the how questions. How do I do it? How do I stop my thinking? How do I let go of my thinking? How do I accept? How do I do this? How do I do that? They're all just byproducts of understanding. They're not doings.
Yeah. It's so hard for people to understand, isn't it? Because I know Laura wrote something in the Facebook group about this. You know, for all our lives, we are taught in schools and just in life in general that we use our intellect to figure stuff out. But actually our mental well-being and who we are as humans isn't something to be figured out in the intellect, just like how the trees like lose their leaves in autumn and, you know, grow buds, and you know how they do. That's just, it just happens.
That's the mystery of life.
Yeah.
Not for us mere humans to figure it out.
Yeah, just it is, and accept that is.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah. I think that's a lovely place to leave it.
Yeah, perfect.
Lovely landing spot. Thank you.
Oh, God, you're welcome. Thanks so much for inviting me, Jen.
You're welcome. And thanks to the listeners. And I do know we've more people come in on the replay than on the lives. And that's okay too. But I'll pop your website address in the comment section. And if anybody does want to reach out, you'll know where to find Nikki. So thank you so much, Nikki. Really appreciate it. And see everybody tomorrow. Bye-bye. Take care.